In this video, I'm going to show you an easy trick that I use to play more melodically, coming up. Welcome back to the channel. I'm RJ Ronquillo, also known as Margarine Coolio. If you're new here, where the heck have you been? I've been waiting for you to join me. Many of you watched my last lesson video about 4 levels of soloing over Little Wing, so thank you so much for that. It was a fun lesson to make. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link up here and in the description. Also, in my last Saturday live stream, which I do every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, I discussed a little more about the concepts of soloing and note choice. If you want to see the replay, I'll put a link up here and in the description as well. But in a nutshell, I talked about how I like to target a certain chord tone more than others when I'm playing over chord changes. And that chord tone is the third, either the major third over a major chord, or the minor third over a minor chord. And I explained my reasoning and all that stuff in the live stream, so check it out if you'd like. But I got some great questions from some of you regarding how to find or remember where the third is on any given chord. And I have an easy trick that I use, and all you have to know is basic bar chords. So the trick is pretty simple if we know our major and minor bar chords from the 6th string root and the 5th string root. Stuff like so for instance, let's take our G major bar chord with the root on the 6th string. We have 1/3 in this voicing, 1/3 chord tone within this voicing, and it's right here on the 3rd string. So it's kind of easy to remember, right? The 3rd chord tone is on the 3rd string. If we make that a minor chord, same thing, the minor third is on that 3rd string. So on any bar chord with the root off of the 6th string, our thirds are always going to be on this 3rd string, whether it's major or minor. Now with bar chords with the root off of the 5th string, for instance like a C major chord, whether you fret it like this, or maybe like this with all 4 fingers, our thirds are going to be on the 2nd string. So if we make it minor. So if you know your root notes on the 5th and 6th strings and know your bar chords, then you already know where the thirds are. Since bar chords are movable shapes, it's the same relationship everywhere on the neck, so it's super easy to remember. Now that we know how to find the thirds of any particular chord easily, the next step to really getting it under our fingers is to isolate that note from the parent chord. And what I mean by that is play the third by itself. So let's take this G bar chord. We know that this is the third, right? So just play it by itself and play it with, different fingers. So you kind of get the feel of it. But visually see the chord around it. So when I play this note, I can see where it sits within the bar chord we just played without having to fret the whole chord. Same thing with like an A minor chord. In my head, I'm seeing where the rest of the fingers would go down to fret this A minor chord. So we want to eventually get away from the thought process of, okay, what's the third of A minor? And then having to play the A minor chord, and then, okay, here's the 3rd string, so that's the third. We want to reduce our processing time to instantly seeing the shape of the chord and pinpointing where the third is. And eventually, all you need to do is relate that third to the root note, which is basically what I do and how I see the fretboard. So back to the G chord, instead of seeing this whole bar chord, G major bar chord, I'm just seeing the root note and the third. So when I play this third, I'm relating it back to the root note here. Same thing with a minor interval, a minor third. So instead of thinking A minor, I'm thinking just that, those 2 notes. So I know that this interval, or grip, however you want to call it, is a major third, or technically it's a major 10th, but that's theory talk and you don't need to know that stuff right now. I know that this is a minor third, and this is off of the 6th string root. I know that this is a major third, and I know that this is a minor third. And that's basically how I quickly find my thirds, just relating back to where the root note is and remembering these certain shapes. Now, obviously, there are other thirds in the same general position. For instance, there's a third an octave below, and there's a third an octave above. But I think this is a good starting place with the third and the second strings because we like to solo a lot there, and I think you'll be able to eventually figure out the other thirds on your own just by knowing your octave intervals. Now, how do we make this all sound musical and use it in a solo? Well, that's a pretty deep subject, and I wanted to make this a fairly short video. But I did make a video about this that I've made available for my Patreon patrons, and I basically talk about taking what we just learned in this video and coming up with simple melodic phrases in our solos. So if you're interested in becoming a patron to see this video as well as some other perks like tabs and backing tracks, as well as helping support the channel, thank you very much in advance, there's a link to my Patreon in the description. But the takeaway from this lesson is not to overthink these chord tones and these major and minor thirds. You don't have to play a third over every chord change. It's more about knowing what a major third and minor third sound like and hearing them in your head before you play them, as well as knowing what kind of mood they create. You know, that interval, this major third is happy, while the minor third is sad and dark sounding, you know, stuff like that. And just knowing that the thirds are the chord tone that I think really define the character of the chord, which sometimes you want and sometimes you don't want. It's all a matter of taste. And another thing, knowing your thirds not only helps you play more melodic, but if you are interested in getting into jazz, they are extremely important. For instance, there's a very famous jazz standard song called All the Things You Are, and the melody goes like this. And that's all thirds, all major and minor thirds. So minor third, major third to major seventh to major third, major seventh, minor third, major third, major third. So many jazz compositions and improv concepts make use of thirds and how they move around with other intervals. That's for another lesson. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Like I said, if you'd like to delve deeper into this, you are more than welcome to join my Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down below in the comments section. Please feel free to share this video with all of your fellow guitar players and musician friends. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, gear demos, and other cool guitar-related stuff, click the subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. I'm Ronquillo, and I'll see you in the next video.